Welcome to the Love Kanika podcast. My name is Kanika,
My name is Vanita.
My
and
name is
we
Brian. Can you hear me at
what
this end?
we
Yes, we can,
can.
All
Brian.
right.
Audio is coming through very clear. How are you this
Yes.
evening?
Doing well. I got the work headset, so I'm ready
I
to rock
see,
and roll.
I see.
Okay.
We're about to do it. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, which you probably are because this is a new channel, if you don't mind subscribing and also liking the video and hitting the notification bell because Vanita and I do this show on Wednesday night at 7:30, and we also do a Sunday show around noon, depending on how we feel it. So hit the
Yes.
notification bell so you'll know when we go live. Okay, so first of all, how are y'all on this hump day? Good. Y'all doing
Sleepy.
good? Me too,
Been a
girl.
long
Me
day,
too.
Yes.
It
and the
has,
rain
and it
doesn't
was
help.
Agree.
right,
Exactly.
right. I wanted to
Exactly.
stay in bed because of the rain, but show must go on despite.
Definitely. Definitely.
All right, so today we are going to talk about, and this is why we're joined by um, our friend Brian. We're going to talk about single motherhood and the issue of single motherhood in the Black community. I wanted to talk about it because this is a hot button issue um, on social media and every group I'm in. If this subject comes up, all hell breaks loose between a man and a woman. It's a all-out war of who is actually, more responsible for a lot of these kids not having fathers in their life. So we're going to talk about that today and maybe try to see if there's, any solutions. I don't even know if there is a solution because you can't, make grown people do, you can't control them, but we'll at least talk about it. So so Benito, I'm going to start
Yes.
with you.
Okay.
First of all, in your opinion, do you believe that it's a problem with single motherhood in the Black community? Do you think it's a problem?
It definitely is. Yes.
If you think it's a problem,
Yeah.
who do you think is more responsible for all? It says 70. I think it's 70%. Don't quote me on that. 70. I think it's around that. Of Black women are single moms, which is an astronomical amount of single moms.
So are
But
we speaking of the birth of them or where are we going? How deep are we going into this?
yeah, the all the birth of them, all of it. Who do you think is more at fault? If fault is a strong word, but we're just going to use that for the show. Who do you think is more at fault for what has occurred in the Black community? Do you think it's the
Well,
men or do you think it's the women?
I perceive it's the women because they have the last say on whether or not that child comes into the world.
You think it's the women?
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Brian? Who do you think is at fault?
Well, I think I might as well go ahead and leave because Dina just said exactly what I was going to say.
Who do you think is at fault?
I think it has to be on the women, and here is why. Um, if I ever figure out how to work this technology, I will show you the pie chart that I actually did develop for this concept. But it goes like this. Do I have the permission to be Strong language. Is that allowable this evening?
Go ahead.
Mhm.
Okay. How long does a man have to bone and not be a parent? Is from the time he sticks his dick in a woman until the time he busts a nut. That's probably about what, 4, 5 minutes, if that long. Are we in agreement on this?
Maybe 38 seconds. No, but go ahead.
Hey, sometimes, well, be quick on the show. But
Not a long time, but go ahead.
Roughly, you are correct, Ryan.
now, let me ask you ladies this question. Do you have calculators with you right now? Or can I just, you guys trust my math?
Trust your math. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. There are 60 minutes in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
There are 24 hours in a day.
Mm-hmm.
There are 30 days in a month.
Okay.
How long does a woman have to bone and not be a parent? About 10 months by American society. She
Okay.
has about a day and a half to bone and take Plan B.
Okay.
If she doesn't take Plan B, she has a window of opportunity to have an abortion. If she does not have an abortion, she can give birth and place that child for adoption. She can change her mind about adoption, and up to, I think, 30 days old, she can literally take that child to a library or a fire station or a hospital or a school, just drop it off on the front counter and walk away. No questions asked. It's called safe haven. So a man has 5 minutes to control the outcome. A woman has 10 months. The reason I asked about how long, how many days and how many hours of the day, days of the month and whatnot, a man has 5 minutes to control the outcome. A woman has 432,000 minutes to control the outcome. Neek, you've heard me talk about this last week. Nita, I don't know if you're a comic book fan, but one of my favorites is a character named Spider-Man. The late, great Stan Lee said this: with great power comes great responsibility. The woman has much greater power, and therefore she has much greater responsibility, and therefore she has much greater fault.
Well, let me ask you to this, because I believe the men are at fault. Um, who complains more about what's going on with the single mothers? Do you hear women complaining about it more, or do you hear men complaining about it more?
Can I jump on this?
You go
Sure. Go
ahead.
ahead.
I think men complain about it more because most women don't want to date women. So that's not really their target market. They're meaning women's target market. Men, and I've said this on the previous broadcast, dating a single mom, it might be acceptable, but it's never, ever preferable. I've never seen a man look at a woman and say, she's smart, she's pretty, she's fine, she's got a good job, but I can't date her because she doesn't have children. I've never heard a man say that. I can't count the number of men that have said, she's smart, she's pretty, she's fine, she's got a good job, but I'm not going to date her because she's got kids.
So let me ask you this: if by your own admission, it's you saying that men are complaining more about single moms. If men are doing the complaining, wouldn't it be smart for said men not to stick their penises in said women to get them pregnant if they don't like the desired outcome? Because clearly, women, if I get pregnant and the man tells me I don't want the baby and I choose to have the baby, I wanted the baby. So something in me is saying, I'm gonna do this no matter what the situation, he if he's there or not. Well, I want my baby. But the man is saying he don't want the baby. So shouldn't the man uh, be smart enough not to then turn said power over to women, the power to literally change his life? When do you think that? Do you think that is smart?
Well, I will say this, and I'm coming to you ladies from a position of policy analysis, my academic background. If we as society tell men, hey, you knew the risk, and if you didn't want this, you should have protected yourself, I actually agree with that sentiment. By that very same logic, I've said this, to a man, if you don't want an unwanted child, don't have unprotected sex, you don't want a divorce, don't get married.
So you would agree that it's the man's fault if he made a decision and got an outcome he didn't desire. Then isn't it not his fault?
Fault? No. And the reason I say that is because, quite frankly, like I mentioned about the 5 minutes or the 38 seconds, according to you ladies, laying down, having sex is on them. Giving birth is 100% on her. And here's why I say this. If the man, let's say there's an unplanned pregnancy by either party, and the man wanted the child and she did not, she gets an abortion and there's nothing he can do or say about it. So flip that same coin, keep that same energy. If it's her and her body, her choice, then it's her fault.
But here's the thing, though. Women are, and Vanita, I'm going to bring this to you. If a woman has a baby,
Mm-hmm.
despite what the guy saying, I don't want it, I have an abortion. I don't think we can say that on YouTube, but terminate the pregnancy, and I have it. Is it not his fault that he chose to have sex with me, knowing that I would actually make a decision for his life that will be a life changing, lifelong decision?
I
Let me
feel
ask,
like,
let,
go
let
ahead.
me ask you to this: would you put this decision of being a parent into, if the roles were reversed and the men were giving the birth? Would
Mm-hmm.
you then risk having, not even, it could be protected, because things happen, even protected sex?
Mm-hmm.
Would you then put your life on the line for 15 minutes of pleasure? Would you do it?
Me, no. Not my life. No. My answer is no.
So you would agree that it's the man's fault?
No, I still think it's the women's fault because they have the last say on whether or not the child comes out. We going into the bedroom, both parties are initiating having a good time.
do
Not
both
one, but both. Both parties are initiate having a good time.
do both parties not know how babies are made going
They
in?
should. I think everybody know once you
Well,
go in the bedroom and have interaction with one another that the outcome could be such.
So if you
My
know the
whole
out
thing,
Go ahead.
even if
Go
the
ahead.
outcome is still of such, it okay, so it still doesn't matter. The women have the last say on whether or not the child comes in. And if the guy is saying, because a lot of times they'll tell you they don't want the child, period, point blank. So the question would be, well, why would women go ahead and have a child when someone's telling them that they don't want it?
oh, I
Because you're
can answer that.
signing up for it on your own. So it makes no logical sense. Why
Hey,
would
But
you
what
put yourself in that situation?
but what if I want my baby? What if I, because this is basically what's happening. A lot of
Okay,
women are
so
saying,
in the aspect that you do want your kid, I'm not, because some women possibly do. I'm not saying that they don't. And if you
yeah.
do, fine and dandy, but stop the complaining about the father not paying child support. Stop the complaining about them not showing up and being in that child's life. And when that child gets old enough, make sure that you advise them that, well, your father did not want to have a child. I chose to have a child. So this is really on me. So if you're going to take the onus onto yourself and make the final decision, take it all away. Don't half step with it. Go all the way.
let me
Well,
jump in on this, if I may.
go ahead.
My good friend that I speak about frequently actually broke this down in a manner normally a page out of my playbook. He said the difference between a victim and a participant is that a victim never had a chance to say no. The man had 5 minutes to say no. The woman had 10 months to say no.
Well, that's the thing. The woman, that's my point. The woman didn't want to say no. She's fine with having her kid. It's the man who wanted to say no, but said man had, what, 5 minutes to decide whether or not they were going to put the power of a life changing decision, such as parenthood, in the hands of a woman. You have 5 minutes to do that. And you decided, hey, this will, how many ever minutes is worth a lifelong,
Well,
life-changing choice of parenthood. Why
it's not
would
last long to
men
take 2 years.
turn? You're a parent forever.
Well,
You're
almost.
a
The reason
parent
I say that,
forever.
you
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 are.
can be a parent forever, but I will say this with you, and I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion.
Go
I will
ahead.
say, I know, even with the check that I write every month for child support, my life has been impacted nowhere near as much as my baby mama has. And I don't consider her a victim, and nobody else does either. And here's my position. My position is that of policy analysis, like I mentioned. The question that I always present was between Roe versus Wade and adoption and safe haven, why has society legalized women walking away from parenthood after an unwanted pregnancy and criminalized the exact same act from a man? If
Well,
that doesn't represent unequal protection under the law, I don't know what is. And
Well,
if
when
we
we're
say,
talking law, though, Brian, when we talk in law, we're talking money. Really,
well, we
that's
are,
what
and
we're
that's kind of my
talking.
point. Well, law is essentially the collection of public sentiment. So the argument that I actually did present is what I think you're getting at. The reason women keep spitting out kids, in my opinion, is because they keep getting a check to do so.
I
Any behavior,
disagree.
I just,
any behavior that
yeah, I
gets
disagree with
rewarded
that one.
gets repeated.
I disagree.
Now, so,
I know
oh,
very few
I
women.
disagree on that one.
I disagree. I know very few women who get child support. Very
well,
few.
let me toss this out
Okay, go
again.
ahead.
Let's take a conversation. If we don't think this is about money, then why do we incarcerate men who don't pay it?
It is about money on the back end, but women are not benefiting like that from it. They're not
Okay,
benefiting like you're perceiving that they're benefit. The system is benefiting more so than the women are.
okay. Let me say this, and I'm gonna cite my source on this one because I'm
Go
a grad
ahead.
school student. I got this from a British documentary. The primary function of family law is to transfer money from men to women, and here is why: the more money a woman gets, the more money a woman spends. If a man's salary were to double, his purchasing might increase, but it's not going to double. If a woman's salary doubles, her purchasing now doubles too. Her purchasing patterns are much more in alignment with her income because that's why if you ever look at commercials, about 80% of television commercials are aimed at women. If you ever walk past a mall, a storefront, 80% of the merchandise is geared towards women. So the more money a woman gets, the more money a woman spends. And that's why I think the problem with family law, and I'm going to cite another person on this one, a Canadian guy, Richard Cooper, came out with this one. The problem that he saw was American family law is largely based on the principle of preserving a woman's quality of life. And if the man's quality of life has to drop for that to happen, oh, well, we don't care. He knew the risk. So when you see men saying, I'm not going to marry women who have demonstrated that she makes important decisions with bad judgment, that's how it impacts women.
Anna
Then,
in Anna in the chat says, you're wrong. She says you're
well,
wrong.
I disagree. I'll be the first to say this. Now, I normally don't talk about my own personal baby mama like this, but I know the first thing she did after child support kicked in was buy a new house.
Well,
So
she had. Wait, hold on, Brian. She has her child. Was she not supposed to buy something to lot to house your child? What do you mean by that?
she had a house before I had a house.
Okay, so she bought a probably a bigger house for her and the baby. What's wrong with that?
She had a 3 bedroom house when I met her.
So you feel like your child support money shouldn't have went to her buying a house? What do
No.
you think she should have did? What do you think she should have did with the money?
Okay, let me say this.
Go
Ladies,
ahead.
have you ever had a course in economics? I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I'm trying to go make a point.
Yes, go ahead.
Are you familiar with the concept of marginal cost?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. How about you?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I remember I had a Facebook friend say something to the effect of this. She said, if I'm in a 2 bedroom apartment with your child and my rent is $1,000 a month, then your share is 500. My argument, because I happen to be in real estate, a 2 bedroom apartment does not have two kitchens. A two-bedroom apartment does not have two furnaces. A two-bedroom apartment does not have two water heaters. A two-bedroom apartment does not have two dens. The difference between a one-bedroom and a two-bedroom apartment is probably about $200 a month, but she expected $500 a month compensation for it. So essentially, the problem I'm saying is we actually make a father not be responsible for the child. We make him be responsible for the child and the mom.
But I disagree with that, Brian. And I think that's, I believe the biggest misconception amongst men is that the money that women are getting, and some women don't even, a lot of women don't even get any money. Women are using to ball out, to, hair and nails. And that's just not true. That is absolutely not true. As a matter of fact, the little bit of money that most women get does not suffice for everything they have to do for that baby every single day.
Let me jump in and say this, Kenny.
Go ahead.
I have to stop this line of thought, if I may.
Go ahead.
It's not that the money covers everything she has to do, because she didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to have sex. She didn't have to give birth. She didn't have to keep custody. So to say she has to do it, no, she chose to do it. That's why I said a moment ago, the difference between a victim and a participant is a victim never had a chance to say no. So if that woman decided to give birth, if that woman decided to keep that kid and take it home from the hospital, she has decided to do all of those things. So when she says, oh, I have to do it all by myself, it's like, no, you didn't have to do it all. As a matter of fact, since I'm on my roll here, I'm going to share something with you, being one of my good, close personal friends, Kenny.
Okay.
A comment I think you made a while ago, not on this session, but another one. Men get off easy.
You do.
All they have to do is pay child support.
Facts.
Getting off easy is having an abortion or placing a child for adoption, because at that point you don't do anything.
No. I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about men get off easy. That little bit of whatever y'all pay a month compared to what women emotionally, uh, mentally, and financially have to raise a entire human.
Again, I reject
Three,
the premise,
four,
because you didn't
five,
have to.
$600 a month
But
cannot
you don't
suffice.
have to do
Not for
anything.
your sanity.
But again, like I said, society gave women a choice to not do anything. You could spit out a kid and be like, you know what? I don't want this. Get dressed from the hospital, walk out the door, and do absolutely nothing. So
But
women get off easy.
Conscious wise, nobody's going to do that, Brian.
If that were
Everybody
the case,
has a conscious. Most individuals have some kind of conscious, and
if that were
kids
true,
is a big
if,
one.
if that were true, then why are women upset about Roe versus Wade possibly being overturned by the next Supreme Court?
well,
Why do we
every
have adoptions? Why do we legalize safe haven if that were true?
well, there are some women who do not want to give birth, and if a man doesn't want to be a father, he should not put himself in a position to be one. Because if a
Not that I
woman,
disagree with that, and I hate to say this, and I'm doing it only because if I don't get it out, I'll probably forget.
go
I
ahead.
think the problem that I see overall with the policy is that the female half of the population has the right to conceive a child and do nothing for it, and the male half of the population does not.
What do you
All
Right.
mean
I'm
do
asking for is
nothing
level
for it?
playing field.
What do you mean do nothing for it?
Well,
Explain
you
that.
I'm saying we have legalized abortion. We have legalized adoption. There used to be a thing called dumpster babies. Women would give birth, didn't want to be a parent, and they just left it in the dumpster. So in order to avoid that, we created a policy called Baby Moses or Safe Haven or Safe Harbor, where you can just drop the baby off at a hospital, fire station, library, public school. We as society do not force parenthood on women who do not want it. We do force parental responsibilities on men who don't want it.
Brian,
well,
if the situation was flipped and it was men as opposed to women, would you be saying the same sentiment?
Yes, absolutely. What I'm saying is choice. Women have the right, a legally protected right, to walk away from all responsibilities of parenthood. We don't tell women, well, you knew you could have got pregnant and therefore you're having this child whether you want to or not. We do say that to men. So
Um,
what I'm asking for is, and really not really a request, but more of an explanation. If you look at how unjustly family law treats men, are you really surprised that men are so reluctant to enter family situations?
what do you
But family and
explain?
situations don't have to include a kid. So if we talking family, a family could be a man and a woman.
They can.
Society has said that it has to be a man, a woman, and some kids. And society, the people like to fuck.
Well,
So
I'm
that's
not
how
saying that
they're
they don't.
popping out.
But what I'm saying is family law, and I'm going to use this politically incorrect analogy. Whenever you see, I'll use a very good example. Um, Mary J. Blige.
Ugh,
Apparently,
of
she
all
got
people.
divorced and had to pay her
She
ex
can't
some money.
stand Mary J. Blige. Go ahead.
Mary J.
Anissa,
got
go
divorced
ahead.
and had to pay her ex-husband some money, and women were upset. Why?
Yes.
Mary J. took the same risk that men have been taking for 200 years.
Okay. Good
So if the
point.
idea is you knew the risk, and this is kind of the real point I'm getting, whenever we see, and I say we as a black man, really as a man, but particularly a black man, whenever we see a black man go into family court and come out with something that looks like justice, it's like black people with OJ.
Dear
It's a
God.
surprise
Dear
because it
God.
so rarely happens.
Sir, did you just bring up OJ?
I did.
Okay, so this conversation's not going to go well for anyone. I can tell you that right now. But is it your assertion that black men in particular are being taken advantage
I got.
She said
I'm not.
taken advantage of.
I wouldn't necessarily just say black men. I think all men are taken advantage of in family court, and I'm gonna tell you
How
why
so?
I say this.
How so?
Well, remember how I mentioned about marginal costs?
Yes.
Like, I personally speaking, I don't think society should pay for kids. And I do believe this is why I think child support is a little different matter. I don't think a person should say, well, I made this kid, now society take care of it. This is kind of why I don't like the concept of welfare, even though I get it. What I don't think is appropriate is how family law tends to legislate morality for men. We say, well, you came out and made a kid, and your kid deserves a quality of life, whether you want to give it to it or not. Like, according to our research, based on your income, you can afford to send your kid to school in a Rolls Royce. Therefore, you must give the mother that money to do so. Now, she can take that money and spend it on crack if she wants to, and you have no say over it.
right? That's not
So,
true though. So hold on. You can't just say anything you want to say because you're a black man. You don't have the
can and will.
authority. Well, okay, well, then I'm gonna have to push back because that's not the way the law works. And if money is being misappropriated and it isn't going towards the child, you can fight her for court in court. Sorry, you can fight her, right? If you are concerned
Ah,
genuinely about the fiduciary needs that's not being met for your child, you can go to court and prove it, right? You don't have to cry about it, you don't have to talk about it, prove it, and then the court can deal with her in any way that they see fit. So your assertion is that black men, sorry, I cut out. Your assertion is that black men are being taken advantage of by the system.
my assertion is that men are being taken advantage of by the system. Doesn't even matter the race. The point I'm
Okay,
getting at is we as society legislate morality. We say your child deserves this quality of life based on what you
okay,
make.
now I remember what you said. So you're wrong. It's actually not morality, it's productivity. It's productivity. If you want to feed the economy, if you want like ultimately, essentially, the idea is you're trying to build up the best human being possible that is going to be a positive contributor in the world. That has nothing to do with morality, that is productivity. So I would argue that it doesn't consider morality enough because you have children being put in situations that they have no business being put in, and morality is not the reason, right? It's checks and balances, it's dollars and cents, or it's straight legislation. So you can't just say anything you want to say. You can't just throw mud on a wall and hope it sticks. You're wrong, sir. That's not the way that the law works. That's not the way that the world works. The world, I would argue, operates doesn't operate with that morality that you're talking about, right? The idea is child support is a remedy or a supplement. In actually, it's a measure to combat poverty, right? The best
Wrong. And
interest
I'm gonna
of
tell
the
you why I say
child.
it's
No, no,
wrong.
no, 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 no. The idea of child support is to maintain and sustain the child's quality of life, the quality of life that they had when both parents were together.
What if
That's
they
the
were never
idea.
together? But what if
But
they were? What if the parents
no,
were
well,
never
no, no,
together?
no. It doesn't matter. Because even if they weren't
And
together,
therein lies my
let me
point.
finish.
It
No, no,
doesn't
no,
matter.
no, no.
We
Let
are
me finish.
legislating
Let me
finances for
finish. No,
men,
because
but we
like
don't
I said,
legislate
this isn't
finances
morality.
for
This
women.
is dollars and cents. Even if they weren't together, he has a financial responsibility to take care of his child. That's the law, right?
And
That's
to
the way
what
that the world
extent?
works. That's not
Yeah, but
morality, sir.
to
That
what
is the
extent?
law.
How much does it take to raise a child? And that's
There's
my point. It's like,
hold on, wait a minute. There's no dollar amount. I'm sure that sociologists, psychologists, they would surmise, but truly, because you can't quantify the emotional toll and the emotional cost that goes into rearing children, you can't quantify it. So that question is moot. Don't ask me that question. Secondly,
I
whether
will
the
ask that
parents
question.
are
If we
whether
can't
the
quantify that
parents are
amount,
no,
then why
stop,
don't we give,
stop,
let's say,
stop.
welfare that
It's
$20,000 a
enough
month?
out of you already. You don't know anything. Whether
Oh,
the
I'm
parents
pretty
are
sure I got a
together
pretty
or
good handle
not,
on this.
you have a financial responsibility to sustain the best and highest quality of life for that child. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. If you can't, the judges say, why can't you? Oh, you're not working enough hours, work more hours. And this goes for both parents, by the way. And here's the thing
But if it
about
went for
divorce
both
courts.
parents, why is
Because one
abortion
of my
legal?
one of my good
If it went for
friends,
both parents, why do
one
we
of
have
my good
adoption?
I don't care
If it
about
went
your
for both
marriage,
parents, why
sir.
do we have
Vicky.
safe haven?
I'm gonna finish saying what I'm saying because I have to hop off soon. One of my good friends. One of my good friends, she's in family law, right? She's in family law, and the thing about family law is that the fathers have just as many rights as the mothers, right? And if fathers want to exercise their rights as fathers, right, legally speaking, they can. And what she told me, what she's seeing now is that not only can they, but they're getting what they want, right? If they want 50-50 custody, they're getting it, right? Like 50-50 right down the middle. I'm like, from Wednesday to Sunday or whatever it is, they're getting what they want. That's so I don't like the idea or the assertion that, oh, it's unfair, oh, it's biased, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Guess what studies say? Studies say that after a divorce, women do better initially. Women do better after a divorce initially, but long term, women do worse financially. They do much worse financially because they're the ones that have to take care of the children. They have that lifelong financial responsibility, emotional, mental responsibility to take care of their children. And I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm sure there are times in your life where you need your parents. I'm sure when you were adults, you always need your mom. You always need your dad. The job never stops. It never ends. You really never clock out until you die. That's the reality. So while men will cry and complain immediately preceding a divorce, long term, financially and economically, they do better because the world that we live in, it's just easier for men to go out in the world and to work as many hours as they need to work. And you were talking about it first. You were talking about consumerism and how women are the purveyors of consumerism. So there you have it, right? And is it what came first, the chicken or the egg? Were women just do you think that it's in a woman's nature? Do you think psychologically women are just more flippant about finances? Or you think that they're more lackadaisical? Or do you think that there's a level of conditioning because, like you said, all of the commercials, everything is geared towards women? So what do you think it is? Because if it was geared towards men, what do you think would happen in terms of men and what they consumed? Right, we have to be honest here. So
Oh, well, I'm always honest.
no,
Trust me on that.
you're honest, but you're ignorant, which I don't fault you for that because you're saying things,
Well,
anything that you want to say, and maybe you're basing it from your own experience. But I've seen the numbers, I've done the studies, I've had to look at these numbers and studies in school. I understand the psychology and the sociology behind it, and what you're saying, the studies, it doesn't bear out that way. Child support,
Well,
no
I've
one's being
actually
taken
looked at studies
advantage
as
of. I
well,
would
and the
actually
studies
venture
do
to
bear out
say,
that way.
is
Like, for example,
in this paradigm, specifically with Black men, they are underpaying for their children. Of all groups of men, they pay the least amount of child support. It's very low. It's not anywhere close to where it should be. That's the reality. And
But
most
here's my
and
point.
black women are
What is what should be
the least
defined?
likely to bring Pookie to court. The least of
Where
any
is what
women,
should
they're the
be
least likely. So
defined?
black men don't complain.
Where is what should be
Black men should
defined?
never complain about child support because you're not paying child
But
support.
where is what should be defined?
What do you mean? I told you what should be. The best interest of the child. Provide the best quality of life, and that's expensive, my friend. You need access to good healthcare. You need access to good food. You need access to good schools. It's expensive. That's it. That's the way the world works. If you want to create upstanding citizens who are going to be productive in the environment that they're in, that's the way it works. You don't like it, you don't pump. Don't pump. Pump it in your hand. You don't like it.
Okay. But by that very same logic, why do we have legal abortion? Why do we have adoption? Why do we have safe haven? Again, why does a woman get to walk away from our responsibilities, but we still mandate to a man, you've got to give your child the very best, whether you want to or not? Why are there two different legal environments? Why are there two different justice systems?
So, well, you can't compare adoption because in some instances adoption ends up being the outcome ends up being better than it would be for the child, even if you
So the
had
best interest of the child might not be to stay with the parents. So
Sorry?
a woman, we could argue that a woman can absolve her parental responsibilities, but we don't allow that option for men.
Right, but she's absolving it, and
But they do if the court system.
Hold on. Someone else
Go
is
ahead.
taking it on. She's not kicking them to the curb and feeding them to the wolves. Someone else is taking on that financial responsibility. What do you think this is?
But it's not her.
This isn't Mowgli. It's not Mowgli.
But it's not her.
The Jungle Book.
But it's not
But
the
it's
men
not-
either in that instance, based off of what she's saying. It's not the men either. It's neither one of you at that point if the child goes up for adoption. So you're still winning. The men are still winning at that point.
Black men are losing.
In that case, I can see that. But what I'm getting at is my position is still a matter of what's optional for women is mandatory for men.
What's
That's
optional
what
for
we're
men
doing.
is pump it in your hand. That is your option. You chose not to go that route, and now you think you can cry and complain about it. That's not the way life works. And when life holds you accountable, you cry. You don't like it. Oh, too bad. As men,
Well, by that very same logic, then why are women upset about abortion being with the possibility of being undone?
Pardon me?
If what you said were true, then why are women upset about the possibility of Roe versus Wade being overturned? Keep abortion legal. My body, my choice, but it's not my bill.
Sorry, what is this now?
Why are women upset about the possibility of Roe versus Wade being overturned? If we tell men, hey, you conceived the child, you have to be responsible for it, but we don't say that to women. Now, if we want to say life is not fair, we can accept that. That's why Ray Caruth is out of his box and his baby mama is still in hers. Yes, I said it.
Ryan, that wasn't very nice.
It wasn't very nice, but it was necessary. See, my background is what makes for policy change. Two things happen for policy to change. When rich people's money gets spent, or when innocent blood is shed in the streets.
Oh, God.
The source of crime is economic inequality.
Okay, sorry. What you asked a question? I'm sorry, I stepped away.
Ask the question again to her, Brian, about Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, what is
why
that?
are women upset about abortion possibly being overturned? The right for abortion
it's being banned, you mean?
Right. Like one of the things that I kind of follow to a certain extent, if you're looking at the composition of the Supreme Court, one of the things that typically comes up is what's this judge's opinion on abortion? Like, I don't know where you are. I live in Georgia. And last year, our governor proposed something called the heartbeat bill. If you can detect the heart, it banned abortion. Why is this even a problem? And really, I think it comes down to is that women don't want the government or the law telling her what to do after laying down and making a baby, but it is okay to tell a man what to do after doing the same thing.
Right, but no. So it's a false equivalence, and it's dangerous. The line you're straddling. I suggest you back up out of that water. Here's the problem, right?
I like to swim.
Women don't have control over what men do. Yes, barring it's consensual, obviously, barring it's consensual, we still don't have control over where he puts his sperm, right? In the event that an accident does happen, and it does happen, and she doesn't want a baby, she should not have to have that baby. Period. Period. And here's another problem specifically in the Black community, because they'll tell you, oh, well, who's raising these dysfunctional Black men without fathers? These Black mothers, they're the reason, they're the problem. So when Black women turn around and say, you're right, we are the problem, we're just not going to have those babies, we're not going to have them anymore, how about we won't birth them into existence, and you can shut the hell up. And then when we try to exercise our rights to do that so that we don't contribute to an already cancerous problem, then you cry about it some more. It's like, pick a lane, pick a struggle, pick a problem, and then really deal with it, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're against abortion, then you also have to be against absenteeism. And unfortunately, Black men are not against absenteeism. You guys are doing it at the highest clip. You guys are the most absent of all men across all racial groups. You're the most absent with all groups of women in all racial groups. So absenteeism is clearly a Black men's specialty. It seems to be your special move, really. So you can't have it both ways. If you are against abortion, then you need to advocate on behalf of conservatism, or having fathers in the home, marrying your women. But then you need an entire overhaul, a revitalization of the culture, because the Black culture it's degenerate. It's in a state of degeneracy, right? The sub-Black subculture doesn't really support, or at least overtly, right? Father, mother, two parent household.
And then, Brian, what do you say to the individuals the women that are being assaulted and then having ended up pregnant from that? So they're just not supposed to be able to have an abortion, and they got to deal with that for the rest of their lives?
Oh, I think all you ladies have got me mistaken. My position, if it were up to me, abortions would be available at Walmarts. I am so pro-choice, it's offensive to a lot of people. My argument isn't that a woman shouldn't have a choice. My argument is not only women should have the choice.
Right, but not only women have the choice, men have choices as well.
Oh, I don't know if you were part of my conversation. A man has 5 minutes of choice, a woman has 420,000 minutes of choice.
But that's biology. Well, what can I tell you? That's biology. You don't like your anatomy? Take it up with God.
No, that's about 30 days of worth. What I was getting at with the adoption and the safe haven is those are man-made policies. That we have created escapes for women and none for men. And by that logic, if she decides to have that child, then she can't call herself a victim.
Sorry, you're saying that you're saying that adoption, these are safe havens for women? So you think that women are indiscriminately giving birth to children?
What I'm saying is, we as society don't tell women, hey, you had unprotected sex and made a baby, you're going to be a parent whether you want to or not, but we do say it to men. And my Ray Caruth comment still stands, because I look at him as what happens when people get tied into a corner. You sound like educated and well-read ladies. Are you familiar with a book called The Art of War?
Yes.
Oh my God, not that book.
Are you familiar with something called Death Ground?
Called what?
Death Ground.
Tell us. I don't remember that part, but tell us.
Okay. When you engage your enemy, you have to leave your enemy and escape. Your soldiers are going to fight as long as it's convenient. But if your enemy sees this as a fight or die situation, then they are now motivated to fight to the death. In English terms, desperate people do desperate things. We as American society saw women do desperate things to avoid the responsibilities of parenthood. Back alley abortions, dying on the table, didn't want that. Roe versus Wade. Give birth, didn't want the baby. Put it in the dumpster, didn't want that. Safe haven. Man has a child, didn't want it. Oh, well, you knew the risk.
Okay, and again, this is not apples to apples. You're trying to draw
it's red apples to green apples.
That no,
pink to blue.
No. I'm a critical thinker. It's not apples to apples. Listen. Here's the
I have
thing.
problems with the chair, so
You have to you kind of have to go into the history, and you really, because men having children and women having children, it's again, it's not apples to apples. Their rights are maybe the same, but it's not the same thing. It's just not. The milieu is different, the outcomes are different, access, everything is different. So here's the thing about women having children, or not wanting to have children, right?
Mhm.
So if you take a woman who lives, obviously, I in the Black community, we can run with the assertion that she's coming from generational absenteeism. She probably didn't have a father. Her mother probably didn't have a father. So you take that, and she says to herself, "Okay, I'm living in crippling poverty. I need to finish school. I have nothing to give this baby, nothing to offer this child." Because here's the thing: when the child is born, even if she says to herself, I want to go out and get it, I want to go out and I still want to better myself, I want to get my education, I want to mobilize economically and socially, it's going to be substantially harder. I can't even quantify how much more difficult it would be if compared to a man wanting to do the same thing, because he doesn't have the child. The child's not with him. So it's not the same thing. So if she decides, I can't have this child, it's not that sometimes it's not always I don't want to. Sometimes the selfless thing to do is say, I'm not going to raise this child into poverty, into abuse, into degeneracy and absenteeism. It's not the same thing. That's why men are able to make more money in this world, because they have more opportunities to do that, because they're not the nurturers, they're not rearing the children, they're not stay-at-home mothers, and the ones that are, they don't even count. That's just weird. So it's not the same thing. Stop trying to compare men having children and women. It's not the same thing. A woman has a child, that's her child for life. For life. Anything she wants to do with her life is compromised. There's an impediment forever. Not to say she can't, but that child and her are going to go through hell trying to get where they need to be. It's not the same for men. Men don't have a baby attached at the hip. It doesn't work that way. Stop trying to, it's not comparable. Stop.
But like I said earlier, I don't know if you're here for it. Not that what you said was not true or is not true, but she didn't have to have the kid. So the point I'm getting at is still, if you choose to have the kid or if you choose to keep the kid, then you're not a victim. Society gave women options, not just choice, but choices. So if she chooses not to utilize any of them, as my boy puts it, we gave women 10 months of exit ramps, and she rolled right past every one of them.
So you don't think that men have options?
Well, I think what happens is we don't have equivalent options. We don't have the.
You don't have a womb. You don't bring
Oh,
you don't
you hear me?
you should not have equal. Why would you have the same rights as women? You're not women. Your
Oh, I'm not saying
opportunities
that we
in
are.
life
What
are
I'm saying
different.
is, if
Don't compare.
if
No, but
women
if
are
you're going to
saying,
compare your rights to women, you've already lost. It's like comparing your rights to children. It's not like, don't.
well,
You're
here's
not
my
women.
point.
You are men. Your position in life is different.
So basically, unequal protection under law is acceptable.
Unequal to who? You?
Equal, if men and women are to be treated equal, and I think the problem that I'm seeing is largely a case of I, as a woman, and I'm using this in quotes, I, as a woman, don't want equality in terms of making this decision, but I do want equality and responsibility for this decision. And therein lies the problem.
And
If you
why do
say
you?
my body, my decision, my choice, fine. Keep that mind when the responsibilities come.
Right, but can men not sign their rights away? That's not a right that men can exercise.
Nope.
No, it
Or let
is.
me say more
It is though.
accurately. Let me say it more
Actually,
accurately.
it is
He can
though.
sign his rights away. That does not sign his responsibilities away.
And no, it actually it does.
No, it does not.
Yes, it does. You can sign your rights away. That includes all that entails.
What? So you mean to tell me that all the guys that are being arrested and incarcerated for child support, they could just sign a letter and say, "Hey, I don't want this kid," and they would be let out?
Well, maybe it's too late for them, but I'm saying initially, I don't know if it's. I'm not from where you guys are from, but here it's a little bit different, and maybe you guys have different regulations and legislations in different states, but conception and birth, those would be the times that you would enact that clause.
But I'd say this: I don't know where you are. I'm in Georgia, and the only time a man can sign his rights away is if there's somebody else waiting to get them, i.e., adoption.
Are you sure about that? Though? I have to look
It's
that
not
up.
just adoption. I don't think so, Brian, because if a woman is with another man and he decides to take on responsibility of that child, a man, the father, the biological father, can sign his rights away at that point. So it's not just adoption.
That's kind of the point. The point I'm getting at is the state wants two people to be responsible for that kid, and they really kind of don't care which two, as long as it's not the state. So a man can say, oops, I got you pregnant. Tell you what, I'm signing away my rights. I don't want anything to do with either one of you. Oh, yeah, the state's still coming for him. The state wants to see who's going to pay for this kid. It's got to be somebody, because it's not going to be us. If all a man had to do was sign away his rights, man, there would be guys signing away rights with the kid still in the womb.
Do you think so? Because I don't think they're even looking into it like that. They tend to be angry more than anything and just depart. Just leave.
I'm pretty sure. But actually, my research says with the best, and I say best sarcastically, statute on the history of American justice, the only way a judge is going to allow that to happen is if it's in the best interest of the child, and it's always in the best interest of the child to be supported by two parents.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
No, men can sign away the rights, they can't sign away their duties.
Well, I have to say I disagree. I feel like men have an option to not impregnate her, and once you impregnate her, you forfeit your any rights. Any rights that you have are forfeited the second that you squirt your biological DNA into her body.
Didn't you just say a man can sign away his rights, though?
No, I did, but you're saying that they can't, and I'm saying, well, I disagree that men don't have rights. I disagree. I think that men have rights. I think that a lot of black men are just stupid. They don't understand the way that the law and the world works, so they do what the hell they want to do. They go around indiscriminately creating children, and then now they've been hit with the child support case, and now they don't know what to do with themselves. Like, no, I disagree. I think that you forfeit your right as a human the minute that you decide to put your DNA from your body into her body. That is what I think.
Okay, that's actually kind of along the lines of what I said. A man's window of opportunity stops when he busts a nut. A woman's window of opportunity stops
that's it, though.
10 months
Brian,
later.
That's it, Brian. That's it. Whether it's 9 months later, whether it's 18 years later, that's it. You bust that nut in her and not your hand or on her back, that's your problem. That
you choose the right female, she may not even put you on child support, so you escape that way too. So
no, there's no say. I don't know about the right female. If you just actually financially take care of your child, no one has to put you on child support. If you're just a father, you don't need a white man telling you, hey, you need to go pay for your kids.
Well, I would say this then, and I can't show you this thing. I actually do have the paragraph for it. If he's got 5 minutes and she's got 10 months, then divide that responsibility with the same proportion.
How? But when we birth out these kids, can we divide up going through pregnancy? We don't divide it up then. You don't go through hormone changes the way we do.
That's a matter of biology. I'm talking about a matter of politics. I'm talking about a matter of legality.
Okay, sorry. What
policies made by people.
What did he say?
The birthing process is made by nature.
No. But what are you saying? What do you think men need again?
Oh, man, repeat that again.
I'm saying, now, what I actually think is, if the decision to have a child, the decision to have sex is on them, the decision to have birth is solely on her. So, if the decision to determine the outcome is not evenly distributed, the responsibility for the outcome should not be evenly distributed.
Right, but who had more control during conception, him or her?
Her. Always.
Without sperm, there's no conception.
I was about to say, without the sperm, Brian, we can't get anywhere.
Okay, without the sperm. Okay, let's talk about that for a moment since we're on this. Without the sperm, she can't get anywhere.
Right.
No, so he bust a nut, get up. That's the end of his involvement. If she doesn't want to have that child, plan B. doesn't take Plan B, have an abortion.
Do,
He
do,
can't
do,
stop her
you,
from
th-
that.
you
I
think
don't
that
He
you
has
agree
to
think
with
stop
them.
either
first of all,
one of
Plan
them.
B is not Plan B is not a it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a brain fart. It's not always preventative. Like it doesn't always work.
Well,
So
the only thing that always works is abstinence. But
the
since we
only
don't
thing
hold
that
women to
always
that standard,
works
why
is
hold men
not
to it?
putting your sperm in her uterus. That works every
Again,
time. Every
if you're
time.
talking about abstinence, make that the rule for everybody.
Right. Okay. So
It
so now
should be the
this
rule
is
for
a different
everybody, to
argument,
me.
But it's not.
no, it
But
is
it
a
is
different
currently not.
argument. It is a different argument. You're talking, first of all, men can take advantage of women. What about them? What about women who are practicing abstinence who are taken advantage of by men? That happens often in the Black community.
That's
By the
true too.
time a Black woman is, a Black girl is between 13 and 16, she's already been sexually harassed and abused by a Black
That's
man.
true too.
Like, this is a pervasive issue in the Black community. So what about them?
You want my sincere, honest opinion?
Yes.
Fuck them. I'm talking about those guys.
Right.
I don't
Well,
know.
you go to Pookie and Ray Ray, you knock on all their doors, and you show me what fucking means. Because really, that doesn't mean anything. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen. There's an
Exactly.
influx because of COVID, so it's just going to get worse at the end of the day. But my
Or the
problem
ones
with
that
what you're
stock in
saying
your
is
houses.
exactly like now we're having two separate conversations, and we can have the
Yeah.
conversation. But I'm just saying, with respect to conception, you keep your DNA in your own body there, and you don't have to worry about your rights being taken away from you. That's it.
I fully agree. That being stated, keep your legs closed, and you don't have to worry about your right to abortion because that would be no factor. See,
Right.
the
So
argument
now this is the chicken and the egg conversation, and
it's
I
the
would
chicken
say
and the
to
egg
you,
conversation because I'm ready for the omelets. The whole point that I've still been saying is women want to walk away from parenthood after an unwanted pregnancy, and society does not seem to want men to have that same right.
but in
I don't know if
a
what
patriarchal
the
system,
Reformation is.
hold
I don't
on,
care what the rules
hold
are, just as
on,
long as
no,
everybody plays by the same rule.
Brian, in a patriarchal system where the system is literally designed for men to like that's what I'm saying. Like, in a patriarchy, yeah, you're expected to provide because you have the most access and the most opportunities to do so. The most opportunities. You can look at the studies. So yeah, but that's not holding your feet to the fire. That's an expectation that comes along with manhood and comes along with being a father. If women are saying I actually cannot have this baby and still go to school and still provide and still do all of these things in conjunction or simultaneously, that is a reality. But men can, because again, the baby's not strapped to your hip. It's not the same thing. The opportunities are not the same. The outcomes, the economics are just not the same.
Oh, I fully agree. They're not the same. The point I'm still driving is that kid that's attached to the hip didn't come out of her body unless she wanted it to. That kid that's attached to her hip didn't come home from the hospital unless she wanted it to. So if you decide the outcome of the situation, can you call yourself the victim of it?
First of all, it's not women that are the victim; it's the child. I don't know why you're taught. It's
Yes.
children. It's and not that I don't know why you're shaking your head, because that doesn't change anything. Black men they don't care about Black babies. They don't even care about biracial babies. And the light skinned babies with the good hair, Black men tend to love, and they don't care about them either. So for you, this is about victim Olympics. I'm not playing that game with you. I don't care about Black men. I care about the children. I care about the future, and I care about the generational implications of absenteeism in the Black community. Like, you just want to play Prussian Olympics. If you feel like if Black women get to be victims, why don't Black men? No, don't lean out of your victimhood. It's sad. Black men, they shirk accountability like it has Ebola or COVID-19. Like, it's disgusting.
Isn't having an abortion shirking
It's
responsibility
disgusting.
and
It's
accountability?
disgusting. It's disgusting.
Isn't having an abortion shirking accountability?
Or is it being responsible? Just like not putting your sperm in her uterus is responsible.
It helps another
I'll take
child not be in here.
Right, you're
Yes.
complaining about
Yes.
the child and who gets to be the victim, and she's completely taking that away for that's not even a part of the equation if she has an abortion. So like
That's why
I
I
said,
said
Black
both of
men
them
need to
win.
pick a struggle, pick a problem that you truly have. Like, pick a lane, sir.
My lane is unequal protection under the law and family law.
Okay, well then keep your
Gender
sperm in
inequality
your
and family law.
body. Keep it in your body where it belongs.
Okay.
If you don't
And
know
she
what
can
it
keep
means,
her she
if
can
you
keep her
don't
legs closed.
understand
Keep
what it
her eggs
means
in her
to be a
body where it
man and a
belongs.
father, keep it in your body. That's it. Put it in your hand.
Okay, so basically,
Shoot
that's
it
the
to the
chance you took
moon.
by
Like,
having
I don't care
sex.
what you do with
Understood.
it. Just keep it out of her uterus. I don't care.
Okay, but again, it still boils down to women have a right to walk away from parenthood after
No, no,
unwanted
no.
pregnancy.
No, no, because
Men
cause
don't.
you know what? You know what relationship you're disregarding cause and effect. You know the cause and effect relationship. So the effect of the child is the cause is the sperm. That's it. That's
Is it?
it.
If that
Yes,
were the, if that were true,
this is absolutely cause and effect. If you don't want that child, if you don't want her to have the ability to dictate your economic and financial future, don't put your sperm in her body. And if you lack the sexual discipline, get a vasectomy. And if that
and by
doesn't
that same
work,
logic, when a woman complains about all the stuff she has to do because she's got this kid, if she didn't have the sexual discipline to track her ovulation or use the dozen and a half forms of birth control
right,
available to
but
her,
here's the problem with that,
she
Brian.
shouldn't have to
Men
say,
are
all right, on
fertile.
that
No,
end.
no, no. Brian, men are fertile 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. So control and track your fertility. How about that? It's much easier. You know with absolute certainty that if that sperm goes in her uterus, you can impregnate her. It doesn't work like that for women. So I would venture to say it is more advantageous for men to track their fertility. Control your fertility. You're fertile every single day of your life.
Not disputing that. What I'm disputing is this situation that we have, and we're talking about when I'm taking it back to the main topic. If we're talking about single motherhood being a problem, it is actually still on the woman because most people will say, well, she can't get pregnant without your sperm. True. She can't get pregnant without his sperm. She can't get pregnant without her egg, but that child can't get here without her desire to give birth. That child, there can be such a thing as an accidental pregnancy by the man. There's such a thing as an accidental pregnancy by the woman. There's such a thing as an unwanted birth by the father. There is no such thing as an unwanted birth by the mother. If that kid came out her chute, she wanted it. So, and I'm not knocking her for wanting it. What I'm knocking is the concept of, oh, woe is me. I've got to do all of this by myself. It's like, no. If you were single when you fucked, single when you didn't take plan B, single when you didn't have an abortion, single when you didn't place for adoption, single when you didn't exercise safe harbor, that means you pretty much chose this
Right,
position.
but
And you end up tired.
how do you get a single mother? How does a single person go from a like how do you get a single mother? How does that happen?
Single mama, baby mama.
The single mother. How does that happen?
Okay, single moms come from a number of sources.
No, 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 no,
My,
no, 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 no. I want you to think of the most fundamental sense.
I
How
am.
do you get a single mother?
Okay, I am. The reason I said it like that is a widow is technically a single mother. Her
Right,
husband was taken away from her. And
right.
I said
Okay.
this before, even if a
So
woman came home and she was divorced, she's now a single mom.
right,
Baby
but
mama, not so much.
okay. So you're making differentiations between baby mother and single mother.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Uh,
So
Trying
how
to
do
get
you
into
get
that
a
for something
baby?
like I
How do
didn't
you get
cover.
a baby mother then?
When a
You need
fucking
so you
woman and
because here's the problem that I have with your premise. You can't have a baby mother. For that matter, you can't have a single mother, barring a death in the family, barring he dies. Right? We take that out of the equation. But you
mhm.
can't have a single mother or baby mother without an absent father. That's it. That's it. An absent man creates the single woman. That's it. Fundamentally, that's the way it works. If he was there, would she be single?
Oh, if she was there,
Yeah, if he was there,
that
would she
depends
be
on what you
single?
look at it.
Right? No,
Got it.
no. Even according to the census, if he said, you know what, you're good enough to impregnate, let's be more let's put family first because family is the foundation of all civilization and societies. You're good enough for me to put my DNA in you. Let's say we get married and have a family. So again, you can't have a baby mother or a single mother without an absent father. An absent father, when he leaves, he creates that situation and that environment. When he stays, then all is well, right?
What about when she leaves?
Okay, I don't want you to talk about when she leaves if the numbers are statistically irrelevant, and I know that that happens at an abysmally low number. So it's moot. It
No,
doesn't
it's
even
not. And I'm gonna
compare
tell
to
you
the
why I
rates.
say
It
that.
doesn't even compare to the rates of men doing it. It's abysmal. It's statistically irrelevant. It's so low.
Let me tell you why I think differently. Like
Yeah.
I've seen women say, "Well, I tried to trap him with the baby and it didn't work."
And I heard men say the same thing. So what? Move on.
No, because what happens is the case will be. I've seen the guy say, "I'll date you. We can live together, but I'm not going to marry you." And she's
Right.
like, "If there's no chance of getting married, then I don't see a point in dating you."
What the fuck?
At that point, it's
Right,
so
but
isn't it?
Brian, what and you don't think that not getting married is so here's the problem that I have, and this is in the Black community specifically because the marriage rates tend to be the lowest of all groups. So this is the problem that I see, right? Because what the studies bear out, what the studies show, based on every statistic metric and measure, is that married families tend to do the best. They tend to do the best socially. They tend to do the best economically, and even the children who are raised and reared in those environments, the outcomes tend to be better, even better than common law, even better than baby mama and baby daddy, sleeping in under one roof. It tends to be better. The rates of domestic violence are lower among married couples versus common law versus I live with my baby daddy, I live with my baby mama. It's lower, so it's better. Every metric, the outcomes are better, right? So if we know this, and we know this as adults, why is it that Black men don't value marriage as an institution, don't value marriage, don't value the institution of family enough to marry the women that they impregnate?
I can give you two answers or two things to say about that. If, and I'm not saying that marriage is a bad thing, I'll buy the part that you said about everything that tends to be better with marriage. Then why do most women file for divorce?
Sorry, your answer to my question as to why men don't value marriage has to do with women?
No, I'm
I can
saying
answer
is
that.
No,
getting married
hold on, hold
and
on, hold
staying
on.
married is a cool thing. The problem that I see is we have a divorce rate of over 50%, and that is mainly filed by women.
Right.
So you're basically saying it's not necessarily that I think that men are leaving women, it's that women are leaving men and then saying he didn't chase me down.
Right. So that's actually, you could improve that if you wanted to. You know that, Brian. So don't. I wouldn't even.
Actually, I could.
I wouldn't know
Actually,
the
I can't do
whole
it right now, but I could.
no, you no, the whole like you're not chasing me down. First of all,
No, the argument is
filing for
simple. Let's
divorce.
look to see who filed for divorce.
No, but hold on. Let me respond.
It's an echo chamber argument.
My
The
bad, for me.
filing for divorce is it's administration. It's you're simply filing paperwork, and what we tend to see is it tends to be cheaper for women to file for divorce. That's it, right? Men are typically making more. It tends to be easier and cheaper for women to file. It's just the administration process. That doesn't mean that he wasn't doing anything in the marriage that led to the divorce. I also you couldn't you can't prove that, right? You can't prove that. So we can't say, oh, because women are filing, because they're filing, we can't say it was exclusively the woman's choice and men are just, these Black men, they're such good husbands that everyone's just filing a divorce. No, that's not the way it works. It's simply an administrative process, and it's more advantageous for women to file, financially speaking. That's the reality, firstly. Secondly, I'm talking about valuing marriage. So even across among other groups, divorce rates are high everywhere.
She
Sorry, divorce rates are high everywhere, but we tend to see the marriage rates tend to be higher than the divorce rates in other communities. Whereas in the Black community, the divorce rate is higher. I believe it's higher than the marriage rate, right? So again, this is not an issue of who's filing for divorce, because women across all races file for divorce, but their marriage rates tend to stay the same. They still get married because they still value marriage. That's what we tend to see sociologically speaking. So I'm saying specifically within the frame, or within the, I guess, the context of the Black community, Black men don't value marriage. This is a historic. We know this historically. We can blame it on slavery. We could blame it on whatever you want at the end of the day. But not valuing marriage has created the influx in absenteeism, has created the degeneracy in the community, because marriage and family, again, are the foundation for society, for civilization, and for good, productive human beings who are going to compete in the economy. That's the reality. So
That's a
again,
two-sided issue.
again, I would like to know why Black men specifically don't value marriage as much as as much as they value putting their sperm in someone's uterus. And here's one more thing I want to leave you with before you say anything, because there are studies about it. There are studies. There's a study that actually says, because and I don't think I can't put it in the back chat now because I'm on my phone. So as soon as I come out, I'm gonna end up cutting out if I try.
Like she cut out.
As soon as sorry,
Oh, there she goes.
but there's a study, and basically the study was trying to assess Black men's sexual proclivities and behaviors and promiscuity, and they made the correlation between that and so promiscuity and Black men's desire or acquisition of power, right? Because if you have a group of men who are socially at the bottom, who are economically at the bottom, it's extremely difficult for them to assert their manhood among other groups of men. That's what we see with psychology, right? Because at the most primal level, procreation is how you assert your dominance. Procreation is how you carry your genes on. Procreation is how you express manhood. But because Black men haven't been able to really compete among other men, what psychologists are starting to see is they are drawing the correlation between promiscuity and creating children and manhood, because because there's such a deficit in their ability to compete at the economic, political, and social level, that this is the way that they compensate for the lack of masculinity that they're able to express.
So listen.
I'll put the study in the chat later, but that's a fact.
I just want to say something real quick. Like, I've been listening to this from the very beginning, and I couldn't get in until I figure out how this goes. And the only thing I'm noticing in this conversation is the lack of accountability on both parties' part. It's a two-way street. And what I mean by that is, like Brian was saying, like, I agree with your points, and I also agree with Brian. It's accountability both ways. If he nuts in a woman, okay, cool. That woman still has the choice not to bring that child in the world. And if she exercises the right to bring that child in the world, a man has to exercise his right to not do anything for that child if he so chooses. Do I agree with it? No, but we cannot take the accountability out from both parties. You can't make a baby with just sperm. You can't make a baby with just eggs.
Right. Hold on, wait a minute. Because here's a problem that I have. When women rear their children, they're accountable. If you want to look up the definition of accountability,
see, you missing you've been dominating this entire conversation. You're missing the main fundamental bottom line, and the woman still has the choice. The woman still has the choice. Listen, listen. Like everybody else on this panel, I consider all of you guys to be very intelligent individuals. I consider myself to be a very intelligent individual, and at the end of the day, it comes down to choice. It comes down to choice. You said earlier in your argument that if I'm a woman and I know I'm not able to I'm going to do the selfless thing and not bring this child in the world. And I use that same logic. Well, if you know you're a woman getting ready to have a baby, instead of using the emotion, use the logic and say what you said. I'm not in a position to bring a child in this world, neither is he. Why still have the baby? That's my question. Why still have the child?
I'll tell you why. Because you actually are in a better position to take care of the child. You're in a better...
You just said we weren't about 30 minutes ago.
Let me answer your question.
Whoa.
Men, as individual men in a patriarchy, you are in a better position to actually take care of your child. Financially speaking, you absolutely are. You're in a better position to go to school. You're in a better position to get a good job.
You're still ignoring bringing the child into the world.
Pardon me?
You're still ignoring bringing the child into the world. I'm confused.
No. Again, like I said, you forfeit any of your rights when you put your DNA in someone else's body indiscriminately. That was your doing, not hers.
I am not arguing that. At all. I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing is I'm agreeing with you. If I nut in you, you're right. Cool. Now, what I'm saying is you still have the choice. 8 times out of 10, the Pookies and Ray Rays, These niggas don't be shit. We know that. But you still had a baby when you know you shouldn't be. My
No,
point
it's not
is,
Pookie's and Ray Ray's. No offense. Sean's, David's, John's. It doesn't tend to just be Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray aren't going to divorce court and
that
family
ain't
court.
going to get. Listen, that what you're saying is not going to knock me off what I'm trying to explain to you.
No, I
The
don't like
point-
the Pookie and Ray Ray narrative. Is what I'm saying to you. I'm telling
You've
you,
been
blue collar
bashing
men,
black men the entire time. You
blue
clearly
collar.
hate black men in some kind of capacity.
Okay,
But
you
ain't
don't have
nobody
to
said
prove
nothing
that I
yet. But I
hate-
will.
Prove that I hate black men. But I'm telling you, blue collar men of all races still try to shirk their financial responsibilities. You want to act like it's Pookie and Ray Ray. It's not.
And I ain't saying anything about shirking finance. I got children. I take care of my kids. What I'm trying to explain to you is there's no financial need or financial responsibility if the woman chooses not to have the child, knowing that she shouldn't have the child in the first place.
I don't know what men don't understand. Listen, if you don't want her to have the right, whether it's 5 hours after you put your sperm in her body, whether it's 9 months after you did it, don't do it.
Okay, so my point is this. Don't complain and cry when the man say, hey, I ain't ready to take care of this child, and he dipped.
No, but you made your choice. This is the problem that I have with men. When you lay with a woman, you put your DNA in her body, you've made a choice. You've made a choice. Sometimes it comes sooner than later. Sometimes
I am not. Calm down, baby girl. I am not disagreeing with you.
In 3 months. Sometimes they make a choice in 9 months.
I am not disagreeing with you. But what I'm saying is,
black men don't have the foresight to understand that. That's their problem. You make a choice. That was your choice.
And you're still attacking. I'm not attacking any woman or anything.
Now you want to be a victim? You and Brian, just stop.
I ain't nobody attacking that. I'm actually, if you stop and listen instead of stop trying to reply, you will understand that I'm agreeing with you.
Right, but
I am agreeing with you.
No, you're not agreeing with me. We're not going to agree. We don't have a meeting of the minds. There's no concessions to be made. I'm telling you, when you
are clearly angry as fuck, and somebody clearly messed you over at some point.
Oh my God,
clearly, that's obvious as hell because you're not trying to listen. You're not listening.
When your sperm goes in her body, that was your choice.
Okay, now answer my question. If the man chooses not to do. If the man chooses not to have anything to do with the child, that's his choice, correct?
No. His choice was putting the child in her body.
Oh my God. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I don't think you want to accept accountability for the fact that you chose to bring a child into this world when it wasn't needed.
Okay, sir, accountability is raising the child.
Or you just don't have sex. One of the two.
If she's raising the child, she's accountable. That's the definition, textbook, Webster.
See what?
If she's raising the child, that is accountability. That is the Webster definition.
Oh my God. All right, I'm 1000% positive you're not in a relationship right now. You're not listening.
Okay, and
if
now
you choose to bring the child in the world.
Do you really want me to go in on you? You think your vernacular can match mine? You want to go toe-to-toe with me? Is that what you want?
I don't mind.
Don't worry about my romantic and personal life, sir. You don't have the bandwidth.
I clearly just triggered you with that. I clearly just triggered you with that. I clearly just triggered you with that, and I'm trying to establish a baseline.
You not having a hairline triggers me because you can't talk to me like that in real life.
Listen,
real life, you're not in my circle, so just keep the conversation to what it is.
You are clearly angry as shit, and you clearly can't have a very open dialogue.
That's why you're crying and you want to be a victim. You're too feminine. Step into your masculine and stop whining.
Brian, I have a question for you. Brian, I have a question for you. Something you said earlier about child support.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I want to ask you about this child support. So you said earlier that women shouldn't use the money to do what they want to do. You were saying that women should do what with the child support money? Because this is a big thing with you.
Child support should be how much did your bills change because you had the child? And that is what should be split between the parents. What we're seeing is the courts are basically saying, well, based on your income, your child is entitled to this quality of life. And
you disagree. You disagree with that.
I disagree with that. Because at that point,
and therein lies the problem.
The problem,
that mindset is a problem, right?
Women don't think child support and family law is a problem because it's not a problem for women.
No, it's not. But this is the problem that I have, Brian. This is the problem that I have with you.
Bro, let him speak.
You're focused on the men and the women when you
let
should be worried about the child.
I don't even care no more, bro. I can see where this is going.
Damn, shit full of shit.
Hold on.
But
Go ahead,
why
Annalicia. Go ahead.
why is everyone so worried about the man and the woman and not the child? It's the best interest of the child. It's the best quality of life for the child, and you have a problem with that? You're worried about the woman? What about the
No,
children?
what I'm saying is we as society don't dictate to a woman the best quality of life for the child. And I said the most vague law in the history of American legal system is best interest of the child. Now,
Fact.
in my opinion, I've said this. The primary reason family law is as fucked up as it is because lawmakers know the more money we give a woman, the more money she's going to spend. Somebody said
Women drive the economy in the United States.
women
That's a
drive
fact. That's a
women
fact.
drive the economy. Thank you, bro. I'm stealing that. So the more
But
money
y'all are
we
still
get,
talking
the
about
more
the
money we
woman. What
spend.
about the
No.
children?
I'm gonna give my opinion on that because me personally, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna go back to the point that they made earlier about giving up rights. When I got ready to join the military, I had to give up my parental rights, but I still was responsible for the financial duties of my child. Also, number two, it
And thank
doesn't
you for your
matter in my
service.
case. It don't matter. Like, yo, child support is child support. I put myself on child support when I left to go to the military because of that particular reason. Not every man does that. At the end of the day, the best interest of the child is a very, very vague law. Like, I'm gonna go back on Miss Vanita. That's your name, Miss Vanita. You mentioned something earlier about the child support and something. I'm sorry, I don't want to misquote you, but all I'm saying is, if you choose the right woman, that's not a concern. For example, I put myself on child support because my son mom refused to do that. You feel me? So I'm gonna use her argument since I heard black men ain't shit like 99 times. That's bullshit. Maybe in your circle, like you said, the niggas ain't shit. But over here in other people's circle, they experience well put together black men on a regular basis. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get at that because ain't nobody addressed that. You have been bashing black men from top to bottom.
Oh
Not
my
all black
God,
men are generalized
another
in that nature.
victim.
We're not
Can
going
I
to
say something
generalize
about
black men.
the best interest of the child?
Go
So
ahead.
Listen, we're not.
here's the thing about the best interest of the child,
Can I
right?
finish my point? You ain't gonna overtalk me. Can I just finish my point?
I
Please,
can't. Your voice, you have the highest
please,
voice on the panel. Nobody can. Put a bra on, sir.
please, man. Just damn.
Go ahead and finish your point. Go ahead, your dear. Go ahead.
At the end of the day, child support is put in place to help support that child. I have no problem with what my salary equates to what I pay my son's mother in child support because she's a great mother. Now, at the end of the day, who you choose to have a baby with can fuck your future up. That goes both ways. But at the end of the day, it's called discernment. At the end of the day, it's called choice. At the end of the day, it's called accountability rather than not to have a child when you both know you're not ready. That's 50-50. It's not just one-sided. You can't just blame one side. So when you do start putting all them other factors into place, child support is important. Do I agree that, the salary should? No, not necessarily. But do I complain about it? No, because I'm going to take care of my child regardless. Period. So that whole argument is not the generalization of all black men because we all do not fall in that circle of degenerates, as she would say.
Okay, that's dynamite. So here's the thing about the best interest of the child. The best interest of the child is to mitigate changes, right? Because too many changes at one time for a child can bring about trauma, right? It can cause depression, anxiety. The separation of parents is a
Did y'all
traumatic
just
event
see
in
that
and of
stat?
itself, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the idea of the best interest of the child, for example, is to mitigate the amount of changes that a child is going to experience during a divorce, during a separation, so as to maintain the best emotional and mental health of the child. For example, if the child was in private school while you guys were together, it's in the child's best interest to continue going to private school because we understand with your education is correlated to your socioeconomic status. Like there are a lot of reasons that would continue to be in your child's best interest. That's one example, right? To stay, you want to stay in within that school's district. That's in the child's best interest. All of these. So while the best interest of the child, you guys might think is an ambiguous it's an ambiguous part of the law. It's not, because it's specific and it's relegated to the specific and dynamic circumstances of each child, each parent, and each family.
And when was the last time
That's
family
the
court
idea
laws have been
behind
updated
the
in the
best
United
interest of
States
the
of America?
child. That's the
When was the
idea.
last time
That's
family
the
court laws have
reality.
been updated in the United States of America? I'm waiting on that answer because when you see that the laws currently don't match the state of the economic plane that we have in the United States of America. So when we catch the current laws for family court up to what we have currently going on in society, then we have a different conversation. Do I disagree with child support? No, I do not. Again, I put myself on child support. I take care of my
what you
responsibility.
said. So
I said, when was the last time the family court laws were updated in the United States of America?
Can I jump in on
right.
that?
So if you take umbrage with the lack of revision or not having the law revised, and you're not taking action to lobby and petition for that, again, don't cry and complain. It's like if you feel like the law is unfair, I'm not talking about you, calm down. I'm saying if men in general feel that the law is unfair, feels that it hasn't been updated or looked into, there are ways about getting legislation updated and changed.
Of course it is.
You can petition,
but that would be in the best interest of the United States as a whole.
See, I got to jump in on this.
As a matter of fact,
I'm sorry, but it just wouldn't. If they ratify the laws, it wouldn't be in the best interest of the United States. I'm sorry.
My lad just got it. My lad just got it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because the law has actually changed.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on.
The law used to be that children automatically went to the mothers because they were breastfeeding. That wasn't too long ago. Do you guys remember that law?
Yes.
Right. And that law has since changed. It's since changed. So again, what I'm saying to you is, if you want something to change, you want to bring about legislative change, judicial change, there are things that you can do in ways that you can go about that.
What? You must talk about the stall change in law, because that still doesn't equate to what we're talking about on the economic level.
Complaining if you're also not going to be, productive and take initiative to do something about a problem that you have. Like, I don't really care.
Let me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead, Brian.
Because this is my wheelhouse: public policy, public administration.
Me too. I'm government, by the way. Go ahead, Chief.
27 years with the county, man. We'll talk.
I got 7 years right now, but I'm coming.
Where you at?
I'm actually with Palm Beach County. So,
hey, Fulton County, we hiring.
Yes, sir.
That being stated, let me tell you the problem with Annalisa. The situation. Annalisa. Here's the problem. I discussed this with a friend of mine, and I discussed it with my policy analysis instructor. The problem isn't that people don't recognize that the current body of law is unfair. The biggest barrier to policy change is not necessarily legislation. It's the social acceptance of injustice. My boy said this. He talked to his senator about changing child support. His state senator said, you know what? You're right. These laws are unfair and outdated. You want to do a rally at the Capitol? Great idea. Matter of fact, I'll even pay for the buses. The problem is, I can tell you right now, nobody's going to change anything. No politician that wants to get elected or re-elected will advance any legislation that seems to be anti-child or anti-woman.
But Brian, here's the problem. Are there more men or more women in the world globally?
Women.
Wrong. There's more men in the world globally.
What?
Yeah, you guys are gonna have.
The last time I checked, the numbers were 7 to 1 and 6 to 1. So how?
The numbers is they can change. They go up and down. That's the thing about them. But anyways, there are more men in the world than there are
I would like to
women,
see where you get your numbers from.
Right.
Though.
So
how about voters?
You're talking about the social attitude is the reason you can't bring about change. Whose job is it in a patriarchy where men lead in communities and households? Some households. Whose job is it to change social attitudes and to change culture? Whose job?
I was about to ask the same question.
Okay, and here is that answer.
Question, Anna.
Here is that answer. The situation when it comes to politics and family law is a handful.
No, I'm talking about social attitudes. I'm talking about social attitudes, Brian. That's it, please.
But the problem is politics are a function of social attitude.
Right, but I'm talking about
by definition the legalization of public opinion. So the problem is there's a handful of rich men using women to extract money from less rich men. That's why I say women purchasing drives the economy. The real thing that it comes down to is that when it comes to relationships, we as society tend to think that a woman's income is hers and a man's income is theirs.
Nope. When we're in a relationship, it's all out.
Like at this point, all of this is conjecture. All of this is what you guys believe. The numbers and studies don't bear this out. I told you, women do worse after divorce. Not because, like, even in relationships. Even like that's not how it works. Women are always in a more vulnerable position, so socially, economically, and financially. The studies don't bear out what you're saying.
That is how it works. And I'm gonna give you another example, and then I'm gonna go get my dinner. One of the things that I posed in one of my favorite groups: why is it that the standard of fairness for child support is proportionate to income, but then the standard of fairness for dividing the money is 50-50?
Oh shit, that was a good one. I wouldn't even. That was a good one.
Sorry. Say that again.
I said, why is it that the standard of fairness for dividing the liability of child support is proportionate to income, but then the standard of fairness for dividing the assets, the money, is 50-50, equal shares? Now, see, for me, I am beyond all things a fair guy. If we're going to split the bills proportionate to income, then split the money proportionate to income.
That,
If we're going to split the money equal shares, then split the bills equal shares.
So
That's why I say the
right.
dominant ideology of family law is really designed to divert money from men to women.
the whole idea of marriage is an
Right.
economic stimulus. What the hell?
Right. Okay, but even in marriages, men intend to make more than the women in the marriages, right?
By
Facts.
choice.
Oh my
Women
God.
choose careers. Women,
All of this is conjecture.
it's
Like
no, it's
this is
not.
all
It's
of
a
your
fact.
opinions.
I'm gonna drop my
Oh my
article too. How about that?
God, I can't deal with the conjecture. Like, it's too much. Listen, Brian, you still did not answer my question as to who
All right,
changes
what's the question again, Annalise? I'm sorry.
who changes social perceptions or the social attitudes around children and marriage and this and that and culture. You really kind of bojangled around that talking point. You didn't answer me. But here's a problem that I have. You're saying, why should assets be split up 50-50? And again, I think Black men might be the only group of men who don't understand how much privilege they have in a society built by men and essentially for men. If you can't capitalize on that, that's like, it's not women's fault. The reason that it is the way that it is because men have, especially when a woman has a child, that decreases her ability to earn compared to men by half, sometimes more. And obviously, depending on the quality of living and inflation and all of these things, you have the ability to earn more. That's the reality. That's why, because even after a divorce, women do worse long term. They do
Okay,
worse
so
long term. That's a
is it
She's
statistical
right. She's
fact.
right.
no? I ain't, no, I agree with her. That's statistical, right? I'm saying, is it the woman earns less because of a child, or are we using the same child context
No,
because she has a child?
yeah, when she has a child, yes.
Okay, I ain't disagreeing with that. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. But at the beginning, it all goes back to choice. It's choice. It's
I know,
choice.
and I know men, they don't have any choices. It's not fair. They have no choices. They have no rights. It's a
I never said
patriarchy.
that,
It was built
but
by men. It was
go
built for
ahead.
men.
Go ahead.
Oh, woe is them.
Talk on.
Woe is them. It's a
I never,
shame.
I never said that. I actually agree with you more on this than disagree with you. I just think you're not trying to, hear what's going on. At the end of the day, it comes down to choice. We are all adults.
And here's one more thing that I have to say, because and I have to drop off. But oh yes, she just said it. So again, even when you're dividing income or you're dividing things 50-50, it's still not 50-50. It's still not 50-50 because the emotional, psychological, and mental toll and capacity that goes into and that is needed to rear children, even adolescent children, even adult children, is not quantified in the court. And that, sir, would be an example of morality that you seem to think they operate with, but they don't. Because morally speaking, they would take that into consideration. But really, kids are about dollars and cents. That's it. You make this amount of income. You need to support the quality of life that they had when you were together. This is what you need to pay. I don't see anything wrong with it. They're not
Nobody,
saying
I haven't disagreed with that.
the
I
courts
actually
are
agree with that.
the courts are not saying, "Hey, sir, you have a moral obligation to be there for your child," but they should be saying that. So to me, men are getting off very easy the way that I see it, because
Yeah,
morally and
the way I see it is
emotionally
not,
and
because women get
psychologically
off
speaking,
easily when
men
they
are
abort
not
that kid.
carrying
That's why I
half of
think
the burden.
best
They're
interest of
not
the
carrying
child.
half of the
How is
burden
best
that
interest
women
of
are
the child
carrying.
relevant when you
I
can turn that
agree.
child into a smoothie inside the womb?
What did you just say,
Men
Brian?
are not
I said, how is
carrying.
best interest of the
Listen,
child the
Brian,
dominant
Brian, Brian,
ideology when you can
Men
turn
are
that child
not
into a smoothie
carrying
inside the
half
womb.
of the emotional, mental, and psychological burdens that women are carrying when they rear children. They're
That's a
not.
And they
fact.
Men are
chose to
getting,
have that
believe
child.
me, this
They
is why
chose
men
to
do better
keep that
after a divorce
child.
long term,
I'm
because
gonna go say this
they get
because
the
my
better
dinner's
end of
getting
the
cold.
deal.
I'm gonna go ahead
They
and bounce,
do.
but I'm gonna go ahead and say this. Kenny B has heard me say this before, and I will share this with the masses. A lioness will see two lions fight and fuck the winner. A female bear will see two male bears fight and fuck the winner. A female ram will see two male rams butting heads and fuck the winner. A dumb woman will see two males compete
Goodbye,
and fuck the
Brian.
loser.
Good night, Brian.
Nature, in nature, the
Goodbye,
females
Brian.
require
In the
males
black
to
community,
compete for the
all the
right
black
to
men that are
breed.
fighting are
So
all
if a
losers.
woman gives
They're
a job of
all
father to a
losers. How
man
about
she
that for
knows
an
doesn't want
analogy?
it, I don't see this being having a good happy ending. And to finalize my position, going back to the main point, the significance of single mothers is, for me, a woman that would make a decision that large with judgment that bad. I don't see that being a good wife, at
Right.
least
Well,
not
that
a good
being
wife
said, still doesn't
for me.
absolve his responsibilities. So good night with that. It
That's
doesn't
right. So
absolve.
he
He's not
pays
absolved.
and he
He's not
goes on about
absolved.
his business, and she is
He
lugging
carefully,
that child to the
men,
hip,
you guys want to be
complaining to the
absolved
world, oh
so
my God,
badly.
I
I've
just
never
can't
they
met a
leave.
group of men
I
that
got
want
to
to be
stay home.
absolved
They
Kid
so
do.
badly.
is sick. Oh, I just don't know what's going on here. You ever notice how single moms never talk about splitting the tax refund?
All single moms don't get money back from the government, Brian.
Get that earned
Thank
income
you.
credit?
That's a misconception. That's
Mm-hmm.
not
No,
the
not
case.
all, but I would say the
The,
majority of them do. What I'm trying to say is, we as
That's not true.
society seem to think that we should split the cost associated with rearing a child
Right. But
amongst both
what
parents,
did men
but we're
think
not
when
going
they
to split
built
the
it?
benefits.
What did
All
men
I'm saying
think as
is,
a
level
society when
that
they
up and
built it?
I shut up.
What did men think should happen in a society that they built? Did they think it should be even, or did women have to fight for that?
Well, in my opinion, are you
No,
sure you want
not
to
your
hear this?
opinion.
Statistically,
Not in your
no.
opinion. In
Statistically,
reality,
Brian, statistically.
in
Well, here's what
reality,
happened.
men
Since we're
built
talking about it,
society for
here's really what happened.
themselves to
From the
benefit.
time of the
My
caveman
God, you
till
can't
about
even admit it.
1950, the ability to generate an income was a function of your physical body. Work the field, run the factory, run the plant. And that's why, and my job is I'm a tax assessor. And tax assessment follows a global philosophy that those who have the most pay the most. What we're seeing is, now that the ability to generate an income is more a function of mental than manual, that is responsible for the wealth gap shrinking. The
Right.
average man is stronger, bigger, faster, and stronger than the average woman. The average woman is probably smarter than the average man. So now that the ability to make money is a function of your mind instead of your body, your brain instead of your brawn, now we're seeing that income gap shrink, salary is comparable, but women seem to want to hit that flux capacitor. And I think a good friend of mine said this. The problem that we're really seeing with relationships today is that women have new millennium expectations of themselves, but 1950s expectations of men.
Men
Right,
have the
and
same
but
thing.
men want to be leaders in the household and they want submission. So yeah, pick a lane.
No,
Pick a
yeah, men
lane.
want to be
No, no,
leaders.
no,
And I
no.
say
That
women,
right,
submission
women
thing.
don't
right,
want
Anna.
leaders.
Pick
Women
a
want sponsors.
lane.
Women say, I want to be equal when it comes to making a decision, but I want to be a child when the bill comes.
Right, but that's actually not how. That's not actually economically speaking what we're seeing in a family dynamic. So you're
Family dynamic, you would,
you're
but
just
that's
saying
why we're not
anything that
looking
you
at
want to
these
say.
families.
Again, bills are paid by both parties. Again, like you just say whatever you want to say. But here's what I'm going to say, because it seems to me, Brian, that the frontal lobe. It seems that the higher thinking, the executive functioning in a particular group of men, there hasn't been evolution, like there hasn't been a real evolution
Say
of
what
it,
you want to say.
right?
Black men,
I feel
not
like
particular groups. Say black men.
other groups of people have sort of evolved, right? Now because now even women and their dating choices, who they are looking to sleep with and mate with and pair with, they're not looking for the strongest, they're not looking for the best looking. That's an evolutionary and a primal reflex, right? That's what our ancestors did. Now women, what we're seeing psychologically, sociologically, you can do the research, women just want a good man because that is better for your offspring. That is better to sustain life of your children long term. That's what we're seeing. So again, we're not cave people anymore, right? He's not killing the wildebeest and dragging them into the cave. We've evolved. Our dating choices have evolved, and just like the wage gap, you're saying that it's decreasing. I'm sure men, hopefully, their minds will evolve and they'll be able to catch up, and it'll be fine in 20 years from now.
I have enjoyed this conversation. It's been an amazing dialogue. I know all of you lovely panelists have to go. It's getting kind of late. I want to thank you, Annalicia. You know, you're my favorite. You're amazing. Thank you,
I'm so
Brian.
annoying. I'm so sorry. I was
No,
so annoying.
you were
I
amazing.
was so rude. I apologize to anybody that I disrespected. I apologize to anybody. I have to do better with my debate and panel etiquette. And Kanique, for you in the future, I promise I will. And Brian, no hard feelings. And to the other gentleman, no hard feelings.
Oh, Annalisa, you're one
And
of my
Benita,
favorites.
I always love
I don't
you.
know if you're in Atlanta in the
Yes.
summer, get the bikini ready. You too, Nita. Kenny B, you're on her.
How do you pronounce your name? The gentleman who came out. How do you pronounce your name? I want to
Jamal.
mispronounce it. Jamal, thank you very
Jamal.
much, dear. You're welcome up here anytime. I love you
Definitely.
all. Thank you, everybody in the chat. I've seen all your messages. You guys are the best for interacting. Thank you for
Oh,
everybody
yes.
who's
One
watching.
last thing.
Again. Oh, go
One
ahead.
last thing. Jamal,
Yes, sir.
Fulton County, we hiring. Get at me, man.
Bro, y'all got to give me at least 95 to come there, bro.
We'll talk.
All right.
All right, guys. Again, if you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because we do go to live on Wednesdays and on Sunday. So we love for you to be a part of this conversation. As you can see, it's an amazing dialogue.
Yes.
Again, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you on Sunday around noon or next Wednesday around 7:30. Yeah. So, oh, Benita, I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything before I
Peace
close
and
out?
love.
No,
Peace
we're
and
Peace and
good.
love. Y'all be blessed and
Peace
stay
and
safe.
love. Thank you,
Yes,
Anna. Thank you,
definitely.
guys. Have a good evening,
Good
y'all.
evening.
Okay, bye bye.
Good night.
Get your ass out. Bitch, you ain't.